Hey guys, it's Ian here. Fantastic Dimensions, out for a walk on this very rainy Sunday morning. Happy Father's Day. This is something I haven't done in a while. This is a kind of a video response to Darth Hessian on YouTube, a gentleman by the name of Kevin I've seen in some of the Facebook groups. He posted a video in response to a completely different video, asking, are gamers metalheads? And if you're a gamer, are you into heavy metal? And did you come into heavy metal fandom because of the fact that as a gamer or whatever else, you already kind of felt like an outcast and you were looking, for something of your own to belong to? So for me, yes, I am a heavy metal fan. I have been my entire life. But it's not because of the fact that I was a social outcast or a geek or a nerd or anything like that in school. I was actually really into heavy metal before I really got into, social politics, I guess, if you will, in school or anything of that sort became part of my life. My parents raised me on heavy metal. I grew up listening to bands like Jethro Tull, Uriah Heep, Black Sabbath, just some of the absolute classics. Then as got into the 80s, the hair metal and kind of what I would think of more as like a glam metal kind of era came out. My mom was really into a lot of that, Bon Jovi and Def Leppard, Motley Crue and stuff of that sort. My father, of course, was still into the classics. I forgot to mention, there's so many that I haven't mentioned, I'd say like Deep Purple and bands of that sort. So many more that are fleeing my mind, and I apologize for that. So then, I also came into gaming in the early 80s. In 1981, I played for the first time, and but it didn't influence my like for heavy metal because I was already into kind of heavy metal from as early as I can remember. I was listening to heavy bands. So as I got into my own in the 90s, I turned 13 in 1990, I started to kind of find my own kind of metal along the way. I mean, even in the 80s, there was some, like Guns N' Roses. My parents weren't necessarily big fans of Guns N' Roses, but I was. A lot of the music that I was getting into, my parents thought was probably a bit too extreme or a bit too vulgar for their tastes. But, the metal scene kind of evolved over the years. I even started to listen, thanks to my cousin, to things like Cannibal Corpse and Body Count and things that, at least in the late 80s, early 90s, may have been considered quite extreme, although we wouldn't necessarily see them that way now. Then in the 90s, grunge came out, and there were some grunge bands that had a lot of metal kind of influences, like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, things of that sort, which I was really into. But I also was listening to some of the new metal, I think is even the term that they brought out for it eventually, that was coming out, bands like Korn. I was listening to bands called like Mudvayne and Static X and things of that sort. Again, this is not kind of music that my parents would have ever been into, but it was just stuff that I really liked, stuff that I thought was cool. It was different, it was new, it was changing, evolving. I still love the classics. I still listen to, in fact, I gave my daughter a little bit of a kind of a lesson in Black Sabbath recently, trying to teach her about heavy metal so she doesn't, fall victim to any of the stereotyping towards metalheads. So she likes some metal music. I managed to get her to change her favorite band from One Direction to Baby Metal when I introduced her to that particular group. But so heavy metal is very much part of my life, and it has influenced my gaming life, which is why I'm still doing this VR, even though it doesn't necessarily fit into the exact question that the OP had asked Kevin. My favorite role-playing game, as you will know from watching my channel, if you watch my channel or if you see me on the various Facebook groups, is Lamentations of the Flame Princess. To me, it's the ultimate heavy metal fantasy role-playing game. It's full of gore and horror and just all kinds of nastiness, which to me is some of my favorite. I'm really into like death metal and doom metal and things of that sort. So that's how my heavy metal fandom has affected my gaming life, more so than the other way around. I didn't get into metal because I was into gaming, but I did get into gaming after I was already into metal. So that's my answer, Kevin. I hope it brought some insight and answered your questions to some extent. For the record, I was a social outcast anyway, possibly because of my metal fandom, actually, and the way I would have dressed and the way I would have acted at a young age. I came from a pretty, humble family anyway. We didn't have a lot of money growing up and didn't have fancy clothes and stuff like that. So, I was going to probably be somewhat of a nerd and an outcast anyway. But yeah, that's my heavy metal and gaming story. So what's yours? If you have one, by all means, if you want to do a video response or drop a comment down below, please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video. And if you want to watch gaming videos here on my channel, I do a lot of Lamentations of Flame Princess. I'm also running some Star Wars now, and there's all kinds of games you'll find on here. So what about you? Do you have a heavy metal story? Are you a fan of heavy metal? Are you not a fan of heavy metal? By all means, comment below, comment on the Facebook groups where I share this or wherever you like, and I'm going to turn this phone off now before it becomes completely saturated in the rain. And I wish you all a happy Sunday.